We're back to another banger this week. Last week's episode had a lot of fans split, with some enjoying the lighthearted, chaotic nature of it all, and others absolutely despising it because of Jerry's absurd antics. But this one, I can safely say it gave me a lot of early season 2 and season 3 vibes, and I mean that in a good way. It even gave us answers to questions we all had back when season 1 aired. This is a breakdown and review of season 9 episode 4 of Rick and Morty. A Ricker runs through it. The episode begins with Rick stumbling into his garage, more drunk than usual. So drunk in fact that he supposedly locks himself out of his computer by constantly entering the wrong password. Once the lockdown occurs, Morty comes in and tries to care for Rick like he's an absolute child, and naturally he seems to feel patronized. I don't blame Morty for acting the way he is, to be honest. I mean, 2 episodes before this, Rick pulled a severance, leaving Morty to care for Ted. Rick then gets a call from this guy called Reese, who's apparently Morty's goat. Fitting enough, he's voiced by the GOAT, Owen Wilson. The three go out and have the time of their lives, going fly fishing. This feels like a cute nod to season 3's ending, with Rick trying to convince the president that he's an alternate version of himself called Fly Fishing Rick to avoid more conflict with him. Already though, the scene feels a bit strange, especially the look Reese gives Morty after scurrying Rick off. Later, as it's revealed, this look is actually Reese trying to verify if Morty is Morty. At first though, I felt like Reese was being devious and intentionally trying to drive a wedge between the two. But then in the very next scene, he actually tries to help them work through their conflict by giving them the kind of classic advice they've probably heard 1,000 times before. And then he says,
"You know, Rick, you two may fight, but you're the real deal."
Yep, seeing Rick's watch glow, I instantly knew that he was behind all of this, especially since all of a sudden, Reese says he's gonna call it. Upon arriving home, we find out that he's actually an android created by Rick. Now, this isn't exactly new for him, he's even created androids of the family before, but Reese here was specifically created as a 2-factor authentication device for when Rick gets himself locked out of his computer. It goes without saying that this isn't the first time this has happened, given that Morty states,
"I've known him for years!"
meaning that Rick has locked himself out multiple times. Morty stomps up the stairs like an angry child, and we finally get an answer to what exactly is in Rick's flask. We see him practically drown himself. I shit you not, for 20 seconds straight, he drinks from his flask without stopping. He reveals,
It's a portal thing. There's a big silo full of vodka on this one planet. These little hogmen keep it full for me.
now I know this is small, but it's honestly a pretty big reveal. For years, many fans speculated what exactly Rick was drinking in his flask. A lot of people thought it was the mega fruit juice that supposedly made you smart if you ate it. This is seen with Morty in the first episode of the entire show. The theory was that the reason Rick is the smartest man in the universe is that he's constantly drinking the mega juice in his flask. I always liked the theory, but the reveal that he has a bunch of people from another dimension he slaves to keep it full for him is kinda meh. Given that he's done almost the exact same thing he did in the season 2 episode, the Ricks must be crazy. Also, real quick, this might be the best joke of the entire show for me.
That's what you use my universe for? To run your car?
Yeah, but don't flatter yourself. There's always AAA, you fucking cocksucker.
Although, I guess we learned the actual difference between the 2 episodes later. Also, I am actually shocked that there was no meta joke that Rick used Owen Wilson's voice on purpose because of how comforting and soothing it is. I mean, he stole the show in Loki. Anyways, Morty comes to the garage trying to cope with the fact that Reese is just an android, and he arrives at an extremely terrifying sight. Now, it's not like he hasn't seen worse stuff, but put yourself in the mind of Morty. He states they've known Reese for years, so to see him being dismantled like this is extremely traumatizing. It's kind of like that Parasite episode.
But I've known him my whole life.
Steve wasn't real. He's a real piece of shit.
I love the way the scene is framed, with the only light source coming from the kitchen, emphasizing that Morty is seeing something he shouldn't. Rick then says,
You got all my passwords, Morty.
that line might seem like it's Rick just saying shit in his drunken state, but it's huge foreshadowing for the main climax of the episode. Morty pushes Rick aside, locks the garage down, and he hides himself with Reese. Rick then uses a soundboard made up of all the crazy sounds from one of the best Cartoon Network shows of all time, Ed and Eddie. Now I know the sound effects didn't originate from that show, but Ed and Eddie just used them so perfectly. Rick do be loving the comedic Hanna-Barbera sound effects. Oh, I also noticed Reese wears an Earthworld hat, a reference to the episode The Curix's Case of Benjamin Button. Morty takes Reese through an underground tunnel that has a landline portal so they can escape. While this is going down, Rick tries to break open the lock, but has no luck. Of course, he'd get a lock installed, even he himself can't get removed. So he calls some ethereal IT guys who need remote access, which essentially means they require a physical body. Of course, Rick uses Jerry. Morty states to Reese,
Just have to cut through the prison level.
and after he intentionally hurts himself to get Reese to blow through this gate, we see a bunch of these dead bodies everywhere. This reminded me of that erased memory we saw in Morty's Mind Blowers, when Morty accidentally killed a bunch of people because he flipped the wrong switch.
What was that?
Let's just be real here. What kind of random fuck shit does Rick have going on below the family home? This next shot just reminded me of Stanford's bunker from Gravity Falls. Morty drops Reese off at the place of the hog people who Rick has enslaved to fill up his flask infinitely.
This is Reese. He works for him too. Password man.
Now, even though these guys seem very happy to help the god with the white jacket fill up the silo, Morty is extremely stupid here. He lets his emotions cloud his judgment. When he returns home, the hogs obviously turn on Rick, and now that they have Reese, they have access to all of Rick's tech.
Morty, you dumb idiot!
Actually, Rick, dumb idiot means smart. So the whole house gets taken over by the hogs, and things escalate. Remember the floor is lava trend? Oh, we also get this exchange.
You ever think about how instead of wrapping yourself in infinite layers of defense, you could just be nicer to people?
Never once, Morty.
An allegory for Rick refusing to let people in because he's afraid of getting hurt. What I love is the payoff we get next. Rick gets a call from the hogs, and he gets that ethereal IT technician to take over the main hog's body, and he manages to shut some of the tech off. I love this shot of the laser shooting out from Rick's eyes in these photos. Pausing at the right moment really makes him look so terrifying, showcasing how fucked a person he is. After Rick gets to his failsafe and shuts everything off, the pair find that there's one last thing they need to deal with: Reese, who comes out of Rick's flask. Yet again, another good payoff, because within the context of the episode, that would be the only place he could come out of. For the first time, Rick can't use his cybernetic implants because all of his tech is disabled. Aside from Reese for some reason, but I imagine the hogs might have modified him. This might be a plot hole. Anyways, he goes full Dr. Octopus on the pair, and I love the fact that Rick takes a laser blast straight to the back for his grandson. Morty tries to reason with Reese, but Rick gets pissed at his naive behavior, leading to this amazing ending.
I hate you!
I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you!
You know what, Rick? You two may fight, but you're the real deal.
Yet another amazing callback to the beginning of the episode, suggesting that Rick and Morty's dynamic is inherently built on deep conflict and a bit of toxicity. Later, they get the IT guy to take Reese's place, setting Jerry free and giving Morty some comfort in knowing that his close friend now gets to have a life of his own. Somewhat.
There is a place called Sky Zone. Do not visit me there.
I fuck with Sky Zone heavy. The ending of the episode, though, is extremely tragic. Rick destroys the hog world after the flask portal is destroyed, then keeps downing more and more alcohol. And as he rambles, Morty just looks down with sorrow, almost like he's realizing that he's always gonna be the one taking care of Rick as he slowly digs himself into an early grave. Maybe not always physically taking care of him, but definitely emotionally. The worst part is, we know how much Morty loves him. He knows the pain Rick hides, but there's only so much he can do to help his grandpa through the harsh memories he's so desperate to forget. At the end of the day, like episode 2 was also hinting at, the only person who can truly help Rick is Rick himself, but that might be an impossible task. Is it just me, or does this season genuinely feel like it's building towards something massive like the ending of the show, especially with the focus on Rick's toxic mental health and the way he keeps trying to find new coping mechanisms for his complete lack of purpose? If we look at how Rick's story could end, this scene made me realize that Morty is going to play a huge part in it. Should Rick die? Should he be the one to pull the trigger? What more can the show even throw at us to illustrate the amount of pain he's in? We've already had the multiverse shenanigans. We've already seen the sci-fi chaos. So what if the final episode of the whole show, probably not in season 9, but whenever that ending comes, has Rick entering the fear hole and being forced to face every single piece of unresolved trauma he spent his life running from? Maybe he climbs out even more broken. Or maybe, just maybe, he climbs out as someone who finally wants to be better. I know this was supposed to be a breakdown of episode 4, but that ending made me think about the larger narrative of the entire show, especially that final shot of Morty. Genuinely heartbreaking. Overall, this was leagues better than the last episode. And not only was it fun with good action, but had great callbacks, payoffs, and does justice to the classic human is an android trope. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. As always, weekly breakdowns are coming for season 9 until it ends, as well as a potential big character analysis for Rick Sanchez himself. Subscribe so you don't miss out. If you want to support me further, please follow all my socials, join my Patreon, and consider grabbing my book The Shattered Absolution, heavily inspired by the shows I cover. And I want to thank you for watching.